All right. Hello, everybody. Today I am joined by Matt Marsberger from Wealthfeed. Matt, I apologize if I just butchered your last name, but I'll let you introduce yourself.
Good.
We just added Wealthfeed to our tech stack here at Premier Wealth and wanted to introduce the tool for the rest of the branch, see if it's something that you would maybe look at adding in your practice. Matt is going to go through a demo today, overview of the product, and I'm going to butt in here from time to time with some questions that I have. So, Matt, with that, feel free to take it away.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thanks, Sebastian, for the introduction and really looking forward to this and hopefully at some point meeting a lot of the advisors listening. But as Sebastian mentioned, I'm Matt Mossbarger. I'm one of the co-founders of Wealthfeed. My background comes from the financial advisor world. So myself and actually my two co-founders, we all spent about 5 years building our books of business, maintaining our books of business, often struggling at times to find new prospects, new business to get in front of. And so with that in mind, plus a couple other themes, we ultimately ended up leaving the space and building Wealthfeed to help advisors with their business development efforts. So, those two themes that I like to kind of introduce the platform around are first the great wealth transfer, which I'm sure a lot of you are hearing a lot about. But as we all know, trillions of dollars are getting passed down year over year from one generation to the next. And when we were advisors, we were encouraged to try to find individuals to get in front of and make sure we're getting in front of our current clients in case they were to pass on assets to their children. We want to make sure we have relationships with their children. Not a lot of people were talking about solutions. And so we set out about 5 years ago to launch this business to help advisors get in front of that massive generational shift in wealth. The second theme that we noticed in all of our prospecting efforts, and then I'll make sure to pull up the platform here in a moment and walk everyone through what it looks like. The second theme we noticed was that prospecting just isn't random. Even if you're strictly referral based and natural network based, typically those referrals stem from some form of catalyst event. At least in our experience, 9 out of 10 times before we would meet with a new business opportunity, they often express to us that they just went through one of these 11 life events. So it could have been an inheritance, like the one I just talked about. It might be a recent mover to your area that wants a local presence for their advisor. It could be someone that just changed jobs, has a 401k rollover opportunity, or maybe new parents that want to start talking life insurance, 529 planning, you name it. So what we did is we built WealthFeed as an aggregator of all the publicly available information out there tied to these 11 events. And as I'm sure you all know and might already be doing, advisors have been leveraging a lot of this data for decades. It's just super time consuming and can often be expensive too, to weed out a lot of the bad data because there's a ton of bad data out there in the world of big data. So, with that being said, I'll go ahead and pull up the platform. But again, in a nutshell, WealthFeed aggregates this data. We're identifying these events taking place in real time. We're taking it through a qualification process on the back end, and then we're passing those on as prospects to our users who are advisors, agents across the country. They're able to sift through the large set of about 30 million leads across the country to find their target criteria. So whatever your target niche is, whether it's net worth segment based, might just be geographic based, it could be industry based or a certain type of employee, we'll probably be able to find it for you. I don't think we've ever come across a scenario where we weren't able to find it for someone. So I'll go ahead and pull up the tool, Sebastian. Anything you think I missed in sort of the 10,000 foot overview?
I don't think so. I think the slide we're looking at right now is kind of a great way to start. It's going to basically, show the advisors that watch the recording here, how the tool's gathering data. So no, good start. Feel free to keep going.
Awesome. Sure. Yeah. And as I pull it up, kind of an anecdote, right? We would typically, as advisors, go to tools like Zillow and we try to find, hey, when are expensive homes transacting? Who's listed on title? How do I get their emails and phone numbers to get in front of them and market to them? And again, it just took way too long. And so WealthFeed, among a number of other catalyst events, can kind of streamline that process for advisors. So we have three core tools. It's a discover feature, it's an enrich feature, and it's a monitor feature. This discover tool is probably what we'll spend the bulk of this demo on. It's sort of what we're known for. It's finding net new prospects. Enrich is you bring data to the platform and you enrich it for way more information like up-to-date contact information, property details of a prospect, estimated net worth and income ranges. We'll cover that. And then finally, that monitor capability mainly used for client retention, making sure you're staying in front of your book of business following these life events from a timeliness standpoint. And we'll make sure to cover that as well. So this Discover tab is really our bread and butter feature. This is where you can come in and search any zip code, any town, any county, city, or state across the country. And Sebastian, can you remind me, Premier Wealth, are you dispersed across the US or is it somewhat concentrated?
We're mainly northeast to mid-Atlantic. Think Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, DC, and then up into Long Island and Connecticut. So mainly northeast mid-Atlantic.
Yep, sure. So what I'll do then, I'll do maybe a Maryland search. But again, as advisors are using the tool, they can save down searches wherever they want with whatever filters they want to apply to that saved search. They'll start to receive real-time alerts every month when we detect new prospects going through one of those 11 life events. So I always say save down more saved searches, you'll get more alerts that there are prospects that match your kind of your buy box. So I'll search Annapolis, Maryland for now. And there's no limit to how many regions you can include in one search. Once you hit search here, it'll pull up the list of prospects specifically in Annapolis, Maryland. And so we found about 16,000 right off the bat. And from there, to whittle that list of results down a little bit, you can just drop down this filters drawer. Obviously, no one wants to go through 16,000 results by hand. So applying these filters here is how advisors hone in on their target demographic. So you could focus on liquid net worth ranges. You could focus on income ranges. You could focus on property details. Maybe you only wanted to focus on individuals that are homeowners. You could focus on age ranges or gender information if you had more success working with a particular gender. And then these four on the right are typically my favorite. This is where a lot of advisors will focus on a certain industry because maybe they only work with tech execs. It could be, a company search because someone's RSU schedules really well or their benefit plans really well. Job title, we have a ton of advisors that'll come to us and say, hey, I only work with physicians or attorneys or business owners. So if you wanted to search by a certain job title, you can. And then finally, alma mater. What these four on the right enable the advisor to do is form some common ground with a prospect as they're reaching out. Hey, I'm reaching out to fellow alumni in the area. I'm reaching out to fellow employees of this firm because I work with a lot of your colleagues, you name it. I know I'm moving through it fairly quickly here, Sebastian, so at any point, of course, just butt in, but some more filters here that we offer are these catalyst-specific filters. So if you said, I want to run a certain campaign one month, very specific to estate planning, you might come in and say, I'm only going to search for individuals that recently got separated, married, or maybe are beneficiaries of an estate. That'll update the list of results, and now we're looking at closer to 1,100. At any point, if you're content with the filters you've applied, just hop in here and hit Save Search. Save that down as Annapolis target criteria, and now you'll get a constant feed on a go-forward basis whenever we find anyone going through one of those 3 life events in Annapolis, Maryland. One other pretty neat feature here on this screen, and just as a reminder, I just have those three catalysts selected here: inheritance, recently separated, and recently married. If I open up this map view, I can actually search very much like a Zillow functionality. So I can drag and drop this map view to only focus on a particular area. And this lends itself to, much better outreach from the prospect's perspective. So now you're reaching out to someone very local to you or very local to your office, and you might just introduce yourself as, an advisor in the area and see if they'd be interested in meeting for coffee. So what this map view allows advisors to do is really take old door knocking approaches and make it digital. So we've seen a lot of advisors find success when they're focusing on their local community. Any questions about any of that, Sebastian, or anything you think I've missed?
I don't think so. No. Now,
Okay.
if you want to maybe move on and show the enrich or monitor tool, I think those will be helpful as well.
Yep, sure thing. So last thing on this Discover tab before I move on to Enrich, if you do find a prospect that kind of catches your attention, go ahead and click in. We give you about half the information up front, and then you utilize credits, which we'll touch on later, to unlock all of their contact information. So, maybe Leola's a good prospect, maybe not. Maybe Garrett's a good prospect, maybe not. If so, you hit this unlock button. All of Garrett's contact information would go over to your database tab, which becomes your prospect CRM within Wealthfeed. So moving on to the Enrich tab. So to make it a super clear distinction between Discover and Enrich. Discover is great for if you said, hey, I want to find new prospects to drop in my marketing funnels. Enrich is more so if you know of someone, or if maybe you bump into someone in your community and you just want to get their contact information, or maybe you have a dormant list of prospects that you've gathered over the course of your career. You want to refresh their information with contact info, estimated liquid net worths, income ranges. Just go ahead and either one by one upload their names here and their location, and we'll search that individual for all the information that we can find via the public domain. Or you can go ahead and do it in bulk. So instead of doing it one by one, If you just click this bulk upload button here, you could drop in a spreadsheet. We'll analyze the spreadsheet. Everyone we can find information for, we'll pass that on back to you. So just to do a kind of a real-time example, this is our CEO. He's based in Chicago. If I go ahead and search Sam Kendry, we'll look for all of his information. And then if you decide to unlock his information, you just go ahead and hit unlock for 1 credit. And then all of Sam's information would end up in your database tab, which we'll touch on here shortly as well. So lastly, to touch on this monitor capability, monitor again was really designed for client retention or maybe gathering additional wallet share across your current book of business. It's sort of evolved into more of a prospecting engine. But to start, the scenario we found ourselves in often as advisors was, hey, all at once, maybe one of my clients' kids would go through a life event, or one of my clients would go through a life event, and then another advisor is reaching out because I wasn't reaching out often enough. Maybe it was a small account, maybe a C-list level account. I just wasn't getting in front of them often enough. And next thing you know, they're inheriting $500,000 and they would be a B or an A-list client. So this will send you real-time alerts if we detect any of those life events, everything from insider stock sales to business sales to new mover data or inheritances across any of the 1,000 individuals you upload to Wealthfeed. So some advisors, as I was alluding to, have chosen to upload prospect lists here instead of their own clients because they also want to get real-time updates for their current prospects. And so what that ends up giving them is a great time to reach back out, schedule a quarterly review, schedule a catch-up call, just to check in and see if anything's changed. And in the background, of course, something has. So that's the 3 core features in a nutshell. I know I flew through it, Sebastian, but anything you think I should double click on or?
No, it was good. Back on the Discover page, Matt, you and I talked about how helpful it can be to integrate your LinkedIn profile. Can you talk about the LinkedIn integration and maybe some others that you feel like are helpful?
Yeah, totally. So we do have a few integrations here hooked up to the Wealthfeed platform. Just through this integrations button, you'd come in and connect one of these accounts. LinkedIn is a really big one, obviously. So if you go ahead and link your LinkedIn profile here, you can actually search by everyone in your first degree network that's going through a life event. So oftentimes when an advisor signs up and we have that initial sort of onboarding call, that's one of the very first saved searches I recommend. Hop on the platform, even zoom out to a broader area than your immediate area, and just look for real-time life events across your current network. In many ways, that's some low-hanging fruit, individuals you can kind of reconnect with and check in and remind them that, hey, I'm a financial advisor. So in case there's ever a need, feel free to reach out and pick my brain. So that's a really successful approach, is to leverage the network you already have on LinkedIn, now using this money in motion event overlay to kind of hone in on a certain subset of prospects. But LinkedIn it's another, I'm glad you brought this up, Sebastian. And maybe we'll touch on this a little bit later in the webinar about some of the strategies and approaches that people are using to find success via Wealthfeed. LinkedIn has been a big one. So if you link your LinkedIn account, we can actually streamline and automate connection requests going out to any of these prospects. So if you said, hey, I don't want to have to lift a finger, I just want Wealthfeed based on my target criteria to start adding these folks on LinkedIn, we can for you. And we can even take it one step further and send automated LinkedIn messages. You just have to come in here and save down some templates, and then we can take care of the rest for you. So that answer your question, Sebastian?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Can you also, you touched on it earlier, Matt, can you talk about the credits, especially the part where you can basically make the lead exclusive, where you don't have to worry about, maybe 10 other advisors using the program also accessing that information. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great question. So we were all big users of some of the tools out there today that some advisors have gripes with from a competitiveness standpoint. So for example, I know some of the current lead gen offerings out there that people are used to using, if there's a lead that pops up in the system, all at once, 3, 4, 5 advisors are calling on that same lead. And so what we like to do is just be super transparent with all of our advisors about how many times a prospect has been unlocked via the Wealthfeed system. And that means if, for example, this example here, if this says 0, no other advisor on Wealthfeed has unlocked Matthew's contact information and presumably reached out to Matthew. So you as the advisor would be the first one. If at any point you start to warm up that lead and you say, hey, I want Matthew, all to myself, you just go ahead and exclusively unlock them. So a typical unlock is one credit just to get all their information to your database. If you said, I want to remove this prospect from the database, I don't want any other advisor to reach out or find this lead, you can just take them exclusive for 7 incremental credits, 8 total. And by the way, every credit typically is just $1. So $1 per credit. Every prospect, no matter their net worth, is always 1 credit to unlock all their information.
And then Matt, how long will they remain like exclusive? Is there a time frame on that?
No, so they're exclusive. So everything is event based in the platform. So for example, we would never resurface this prospect tied to this event. So you have a leg up in your positioning because you're the only one that would know that information in perpetuity. If this prospect went through a second event, maybe they sold a business a year or 2 later, they might resurface to the platform if we can find enough information on that event at that time. But it's yours for forever, that event matched to that prospect.
Yeah.
And that goes for a generic unlock as well. So for any prospect you unlock, they're yours for the rest of your career. So I should probably double click on this database here and as well. So it's a good segue. But once you've unlocked and exported prospects to your database, they're yours. Feel free to come in and export these out of the platform, take them with you to an Excel file, a CSV file, or one of our integrations that we have hooked up. And remind me, Sebastian, is it proprietary? Do you have a proprietary CRM or what do
We
you
do
use?
not. Most of our advisors will use Redtail or Wealthbox at this point.
Great. Yeah. So it's a pretty easy push just to get all this data into your CRM environment.
Okay.
Um, and then on that note, we do offer a lot of information or capabilities to take notes in these prospect profiles, add tags to these prospect profiles as is. So some advisors choose just to leave it in Wealthfeed as opposed to pushing it over to their CRM. Some prefer to push it to their CRM anyway. So totally up to you, obviously, but you can come in here and leave some notes, right? So, Sebastian called on 7/14, said he was interested. And then you could add tags to the profile. You can custom create tags just for easy sorting of your database later on. But this is actually a pretty good example of a prospect profile and all the information that you get. So we'll give you mailing addresses for direct mail. We'll give you phone numbers and email addresses and LinkedIn URLs for any prospect that's on LinkedIn. And not all of our prospects are, but I'd say probably north of 80-85% of our prospects are on LinkedIn. And then we give you a snapshot of the family tree, some address information, job history, alma mater details, and more property details. And we would actually even preview for you if there was a mortgage on the property, so you can back into how much equity someone has in their home. So, and then at any
Excellent.
point as well, if you want real-time alerts for go forward life events, you would just take this prospect and hit add to monitor. And now on a go forward basis, I'm monitoring this prospect for any additional life events that might take place.
And the monitor, you're not paying extra credit to monitor. You unlock them, but the monitor gets you 1,000, but you could pay for more eventually if you had more. I mean, it would take a while probably to get there, but you could pay for more. I take it.
That's right. Yep. Yep. You get 1,000 included as part of our typical package. And then if you ever wanted to upload more than 1,000, you just reach out to us and we can just increase that kind of upper bound and talk about pricing then.
Okay. And
Yeah.
you switching gears here, when you were looking at integrations, you talked about the templates. Can you talk about like the automated email stuff that we've talked about a little bit, and then also I think you have some handwritten notes that we might have mentioned as well.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Absolutely. So typically, when we get to this point in a demo, the advisor that we're demoing with typically asks, well, great, you gave me a bunch of information and a really good target, but how do I get in touch with them? What's the best way to attract them as a prospect or a client? And so what we typically suggest is a multi-channel outreach approach. So don't just stick to calling, don't maybe just stick to email or just LinkedIn, but use a combination of multiple channels. And so we built out a few integrations that allow you to do that directly from Wealthfeed. Again, some advisors choose to bring it out of Wealthfeed and just do it in their own current systems. But if you said, hey, I want Wealthfeed to streamline LinkedIn connection requests and LinkedIn messages, and then even direct mail, you can do so. So to kind of switch gears into what those handwritten notes might look like. At any point, if you come into this templates module, you can start to spin up different campaigns. So as it currently stands, we just have 2 options. It's handwritten notes and LinkedIn messages. We're probably 1 week away from launching email automation. in the form of actually campaigns that are pre-canned. So you can customize them to a degree, but we'll give you templates to work from. So these handwritten notes are really neat. Whenever anyone thinks of direct mail anymore, they typically think of a flyer or a pamphlet that are super long and cumbersome and typically get tossed away in the trash. We built out a tool that allows you to send really short and sweet, personalized notes directly to any prospect in the platform that you find. So they're hand stamped, they're hand signed, they're actually put together with this machinery here. So it's real pen going on the card, which is important because you can actually feel the grooves in the card. So it really does look handwritten. This would be the Premier Wealth logo or any of your individual logos that you might have, and then your custom message. So whatever you want to write on that card can get thrown on that card. We just limit you to 500 characters to keep them short and sweet. And what's really neat about this, and a lot of feedback we've gotten, is that it kind of resembles like a wedding invite. So it typically gets opened as opposed to getting thrown out as solicitation. So it gets opened, and then those QR codes are trackable. So you can actually direct any prospect to a landing page of your choice. So if I came in here and said, let me set a new handwritten note out, the first step is to drop in a URL. We see a lot of advisors choose to drop in their Calendly links. Some do LinkedIn profiles, some do marketing websites, whatever they want these prospects to get directed to, and we'll track for you via that QR code exactly who scanned and when. So we'll send you a real-time alert that says, hey, 5 of these 10 prospects just scanned your QR code. They're looking at your website. There might be some intent there. So that's again, one of probably 4 ways we encourage advisors to engage these prospects alongside, picking up the phone or sending LinkedIn messages and connecting with folks on LinkedIn. And then of course, email, which I can preview for you as well here in a moment. But did that kind of answer all your questions, Sebastian, about the direct mail?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So as I kind of previewed, we are about a week out from launching an email automation tool as well. And Sebastian, are we going over? I couldn't recall how long we blocked off.
No, we're good. We still have some time.
Okay, great. So in addition to handwritten notes and LinkedIn messages, at any point you can come into your database and handpick which prospects you want to include in a campaign, and then just hit this activate button here. You see we've currently blocked out this second button, but this is going to be an Advisor Stream integration, which is a Broadridge company. So for those of you not familiar with what Advisor Stream is a great tool that allows advisors to send out up to 3,000 FINRA approved email campaigns directly to prospects or clients' inbox. It also allows you to post directly to LinkedIn and link those posts to very relevant and topical current events. So from Wall Street Journal, Barron's, New York Times, Financial Times, you can pick and choose from different publishers and post those directly to your LinkedIn. So all that capability is going to be integrated here into Wealthfeed in the next week. And so in addition to those handwritten notes or the LinkedIn automation, you could just choose to automate through Advisor Stream, and it'll actually send out custom emails to whoever you'd like or whoever you find within the platform. So that would kind of round out really the 3 core approaches we see advisors take, which is email, LinkedIn, and direct mail.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Outside of anything we've talked about, Matt, anything you've seen, advisors using your tool that they're doing really well, that's working, that's getting them meetings, anything that we haven't talked about today that you would mention for the call?
Yeah, probably. It's typically 2 core themes that we see drive the most success for advisors. The first is getting very targeted. So as opposed to casting too wide a net and just saying, hey, I'm going to go ahead and reach out to every prospect in Annapolis north of 500K in liquid assets, what we would coach you on and suggest is you get a little bit more targeted. Like I mentioned earlier, find some common ground with these prospects so that way it's way more likely that they felt targeted. If the prospect at the receiving end feels like they were just picked up in some mass marketing email campaign, they're way less likely to reply. But if they felt like, oh, wow, Sebastian picked me because I'm a fellow alumni of Gettysburg, I'm far more likely to reply to his LinkedIn message or return his call, his voicemail. So that's the first theme. Make sure you're getting targeted and have maybe some rhyme or reason for why you're reaching out to a particular prospect. The second theme, and I kind of already touched on it, so I'll leave it brief. I'll make it brief, but multi-channel outreach is working. It takes the human brain like 7 times before it sees a name and sees a brand and recognizes what services that brand offers. So don't think that just because you didn't get a response after sending one email that it was a no. the most successful advisors, what they're doing is they're sending that direct mail piece. They're following that direct mail piece up with an email just to say, hey, I sent you a note in the mail. They're going to follow it up with a LinkedIn connection request so that they can put a face to their name. And then finally, as a fourth step, they're picking up the phone and calling. By that point, the prospect presumably has seen that advisor's name and brand across multiple channels, and therefore they start to think that they're more relevant than they actually might be. Not saying that you all aren't relevant, but it just tends to work that way. So multi-channel outreach and targeted outreach are definitely working the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, Matt. Honestly, I don't think I. Oh, one more thing actually that I just thought about is just a basic LinkedIn profile and basic LinkedIn access okay for the tool? Do you recommend any, advanced LinkedIn access that an advisor should have?
No. Just the standard account is perfectly fine. In fact, even if you had premium, we don't use any in-mail credits. So the way that the outreach via LinkedIn would go is if you actually generate a flow here, which automates those touch points, we wouldn't send a LinkedIn message to a prospect until that prospect has accepted your LinkedIn request. And that message isn't sent alongside the request either. So a typical standard normal LinkedIn account is totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's really all I had. Anything else you want to add, Matt, before we wrap it up?
No, I would just welcome one-on-one conversations at any point. Just check out our website. It's wealthfeed.com, and we have a demo link directly there via the website. You'll hop on a quick call with myself or one of my two co-founders, and we'd love to walk you through maybe a more intimate demo of the platform. So, Sebastian, I really appreciate your time and the great questions, and look forward to hopefully working with more members of your team.
No, thanks for the time, Matt. Like I said, we're really excited to use this tool and roll it out to the group. I'd imagine you'll be having some conversations with some folks in our group in the coming weeks. So if anybody has any questions after watching this, reach out to me. I can connect you directly to Matt. We can, like Matt said, schedule a demo. We can talk about pricing. So happy to do all that if you do have some interest. But with that, we'll wrap this thing up and everybody enjoy your day. Okay.
Great.
Thanks,
Thanks
Matt.
again. Yep. Appreciate it.